Hey everyone, and welcome back to the kitchen. In today's episode, we're going to be making some mini Scotch eggs using these fresh Quail's eggs that we bought from our local farmer. Now, what is a Scotch egg? You might be wondering if you don't live in England or the UK. A Scotch egg is a very popular picnic food in the United Kingdom, and from what I understand, it's been around since the late 1700s, early 1800s. All it really is a type of egg. It could be a quail's egg or a fresh chicken egg, wrapped in some sort of minced meat, and then traditionally it's coated in flour, eggs and breadcrumbs, and then fried in some sort of oil. How are we going to be making my recipe for Scotch eggs? So we're going to be using quail's eggs, like I said, and to that we're going to be wrapping them in some minced pork. Now, you could use whatever type of meat you feel comfortable with. I definitely recommend going for a white meat, so in that case chicken or turkey would be a great substitute for the pork that we're going to be using today. To the pork we're going to be adding some ginger, powdered ginger, some nutmeg, some crushed black pepper, some salt, a little bit of MSG, some chives, and that's about it. Then we're going to be coating them in the mincemeat, just dusting them in some flour, putting them in an egg wash, putting them in some breadcrumbs, and then frying them in some pork lard. So join me as we get started and I'll take you through the process. It's super easy, it's super quick, it's very simple, and it's very tasty. So let's get started. Okay guys, so we're ready to make our mini Scotch eggs, and I'll just take you through what we're going to be adding to our ground pork. So the first thing we need is our crushed black pepper, our salt, our chives, and then our mixture of spices, and in this case we're using crushed ginger and some ground nutmeg, or powdered ginger rather. Okay, and then what we're going to do is take this mixture and we're going to blitz that in the food processor until it's a really nice and smooth consistency. We're going to be doing that as it will make a nicer texture when it goes around the egg, but it will also be less likely to break and split apart when we fry it. So join me at the food processor and we will start to do that. Here we are at the food processor, and as you can see we've got a pretty old piece of kit in front of us. This was actually given to me by my mum a few years ago when she got a new food processor. I believe it's from the early 80s. It's a Robot Chef 2500 Maxi. Really great piece of kit, and you can see that 40 years on from its production date, it's still getting the job done. It's wonderful to use. So guys, check in when we've minced our pork and our spices and everything together. So we've been mixing the meat now for about a minute, and this is exactly the kind of consistency that we want. It is quite sticky, it's quite gooey, but this is exactly what we need in order to mold it round our quail's eggs. So we have our meat out of the food processor and into a bowl, and now we're going to be shaping our Scotch eggs. Essentially what we're going to be doing is just wrapping the quail's eggs in the meat and then dredging them in flour, and then we'll dredge them in some egg and some breadcrumbs, and then we'll be deep frying them. When we do this process, it is quite sticky and it can get quite messy, and one thing I've found is very helpful is just if you wet your hands before you start to put the meat around the quail's eggs. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to wet our hands. We're going to grab a good lump of meat, something like that, and then we're just going to pat it down like this, pop our egg in the center, and then just fold our meat and shape it round. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, and then what we end up with is a really nice little ball of mincemeat with our egg inside. And then what we're going to do is just pop that in the flour and roll it about. So I have quite a few of these to do, so I'm going to crack on and I'll see you at the next stage of the process. Okay, so as you can see, we've shaped all of our balls. A couple of them are a little bit uneven. Not the best look to have uneven balls, but nonetheless we're going to move forward. All we're going to do is just coat them in the flour. Then we're going to move on to the egg wash, and lastly the breadcrumbs. So So yeah, just make sure to coat them evenly and liberally with the flour, and then just pop them into the breadcrumbs. And there we have it, a Scotch egg ready for the frying process. So guys, as you can see, our eggs are ready for frying. So join me over at the cooker when we will get started. So guys, while our pork lard is heating up for our frying, I just wanted to say that we're going to be cooking these or frying these on a medium to high heat. I'd estimate that they take probably around 8 minutes. They may take a little bit longer, but I think, you know, it's safe to say that when they're a darker golden brown color on the outside, they will be ready. Of course, previous to doing this, we already boiled our quail's egg, so we don't need to worry about the egg being raw. We just need to be worried about the outer layer of mincemeat being cooked enough. So yeah, join me in a couple of minutes when this bad boy has turned into liquid and we'll be ready to fry. So we're not going to cook all of our Scotch eggs at once. We're probably going to do 3 to 4 at a time. Reason being, we don't want to overload the oil and have the temperature go down too much. So yeah, we'll just pop our eggs in. Be careful when you're doing that so you don't burn your hands. And I think 4 is probably the right number for now. And like I said, we're just going to fry these until they are a dark golden brown on the outside. Okay, so at this point, we should be ready to turn them over and have a look. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, and you can see they're already getting browned. I think, again, we caught them just at the right time. And again, we'll just keep on rolling these around until we get an even colour all over. Now, of course, the smell of frying Scotch eggs has attracted our friend Luleg. Yep, that's right. So I think we'll probably have to give him a little bit of a taste as well. It's been about 7.5 minutes now, and by the sound of things and by the look of things, they are ready to come out. We're just going to place them on some paper in a bowl, just to remove any excess grease. And then after about 5 minutes, I think we should be ready to cut into one and see what it looks like on the inside. Alright guys, well while the rest of the Scotch eggs are cooking away, I thought we'd take a look and see what we have inside. So here is the moment of truth. And there you have it. We lost a little bit of the yolk there, but a really, really nice looking juicy Scotch egg. Crispy on the outside, will present beautifully on the plate if we want to do it that way. But yeah, smells amazing in here, looks amazing. Now I think it's time to give it a taste test. Cool guys, so we're ready for the taste test, so let's give our quail's egg Scotch egg a try. Yeah, so lovely and crispy on the outside, very nice texture with the meat on the inside. It's nice and spongy and juicy, and you can really taste the seasonings that we've added. It tastes like a really, really high quality sausage meat, which is essentially what we've made. Highly recommend that you try this recipe. You know, do it however you want, add the spices however you want, or follow my recipe, it's really up to you. But hopefully this was a useful guide for you on how to make some sort of Scotch egg from my perspective. Look, if you enjoyed the video today, please think about subscribing to the channel and showing us some support. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day and see you in the next video. Thanks so much for your support. See ya! Ready for the taste test?